Hey football fans, Parker here from Klipfolio. Today I'd like to show you what we're doing to get ready for the big game this Sunday. We've built a companion dashboard designed to be your one-stop shop for things like scores, news, stats, and live odds for the big game, entirely built within our Clips product, which is designed to empower you to create high-quality custom dashboards for your team and for your clients. But on Sunday, we all know that the only business that matters is the business of ball. So let's dig into how to use this dashboard to enhance your big game experience. This dashboard contains multiple visualizations and tools that allows you to engage more deeply with the game. We get live updates on the attendance of the game, the key scores, the time of the game, your box score, as well as high-level odds information like the over-under and the spread. You also have an opportunity to get to know the teams a little bit better. We have breakdowns for both the home and the away team that allows you to get a high-level view of some of their key statistics from the regular season. We also have a comprehensive player guide that allows us to break down all of the individual players across the two teams. You can filter for those teams as well as the position they play. So let's say I'd like to see all of the defensive ends for the Eagles. Well, it looks like there's only one playing at the Super Bowl. We can see their information, their headshot, and get a stat sheet direct from ESPN for that player. This can be particularly useful when we look towards some of the betting information that we have on this dashboard. Now, if you're someone that likes to put a couple dollars towards a sports event, this dashboard should be a helpful place for you to see all of the key player odds for various categories across the major bookmakers for this game. We've got a live player odds visualization here for a number of categories. Things like the first touchdown scorer, an anytime touchdown scorer, field goals, pass attempts, pass yards, pass touchdowns, the list goes on. There's all opportunities for you to click into a category that you're interested in and see the key odds and the lines from the major bookmakers: FanDuel, BetRivers, BetOnline, DraftKings, and BetAGM. So we can see right now, FanDuel has Patrick Mahomes at 154 odds to have over 1.5 pass touchdowns. If you want to get more information about that player, we can go to the Chiefs. Let's go to the quarterbacks. And again, we can pull up a stat sheet for Patrick Mahomes. Now, the dashboard's not just about those friendly wagers. It also gives you some just general information about some of the analytics in the game. The gauge we have here in the center is based on ESPN's predictive analytics models that predict the outcome of the game. So right now, while the Chiefs might be the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl, the Eagles have a 56.1% chance to win based on this prediction model. During the game, this gauge will update live as plays happen, touchdowns are scored, and the flow of the game changes from minute to minute. In addition, you can stay on top of the key news in the NFL. This is a running ticker of the major headlines that are coming through and will be updated on game day as well. And then finally, we've been able to integrate some of the visualizations from our Power Metrics product to allow you to get hourly updates on key metrics as the game goes on. For things like over/under, you can see how that progresses before the game and during the game, as well as that predicted win percentage. So we can see how Kansas City and Philadelphia are battling it out across the game as percentages dip and increase based on what's going on in the game. Overall, we're hoping that this dashboard can be a great companion piece to have by you while you watch the game to dig in a little bit deeper, understand the statistics, and get closer to the game. And also, if you're someone who's interested in betting, get a little bit closer to what those odds may be and help you make some informed decisions. So you see we're able to make dynamic and engaging dashboards with a tool like Clips. How do we break this down and actually build out something like this? So I'll take the opportunity to show you two visualizations and how we're able to put these together. First is that predictive gauge that I mentioned. I'd like to introduce everybody to the clip editor. This is where we can design and build the clips that you saw on the dashboard. One of our most popular visualizations is the gauge, where it allows us to essentially track progress towards a main target. In this case, what I've done is I've pulled API data directly from ESPN. Thanks very much for having such an open and public API, ESPN. And we're allowed to pull values about things like the team's predicted win percentage for a given game. So I've set that up as the current value on my gauge, which will indicate that right now a team has a 56.1% chance out of 100. So I have this value set as my current value. We also set a max and a min range here. So because we're working with percentages, the minimum is 0, the maximum is 1. Then to do this color coordination, we can use custom ranges. So custom ranges allow us to color code and categorize specific areas on this gauge that can indicate progress, or in our case, indicate the colors of a given team. So for one range, we're saying from the beginning of the gauge till whatever the current value is, so in this case 56.1, though that will change as the game goes on, we're going to show Philadelphia Eagles colors. For everything from that point to the end of the gauge, we'll show Chiefs colors. And this all allows us to power this piece of text here, which takes a look at the values we have and says, right now, the Eagles have a 56.1% chance to win. If this value's changed and all of a sudden the Chiefs had a 60% chance to win, our system would automatically detect that the Chiefs' value is now higher than the Eagles, and will present that the Chiefs have a 60 some odd percent chance to win, and this gauge will adjust accordingly. So it's a very simple visualization, but it has a lot of power, and it allows us to make a dynamic and engaging visualization that will allow people to track progress along the course of the game. Now, I also want to walk through and show the team breakdown, how we were able to build this visualization that showcases the two teams, key highlights between them, and then has a dynamic table that allows us to view player details. Now, this clip takes advantage of a couple key components in our tool. One being the layout grid. The layout grid, as you can see here, allows you to create a custom grid where you can put individual components wherever you'd like throughout the layout grid. We can include things like images, titles, and color-coded labels like you see here. This kind of flexibility isn't something we can get out of a traditional table, but the layout grid allows us to have highly customized nodes as part of our dashboard. We're also using what we call our indicator functionality, which is something that allows us to color code specific values depending on what we see in the data. So in this case, we've color coded all these key metrics green or red. And how we're doing that is with this indicators tool. So let's look at the average points for label here. We can see that Philadelphia's is higher than Kansas City's. So we've set up some logic to dynamically color code these values based on that. So if the average points for the away team, in this case Kansas City, is greater than the other, then it'll turn green, and if not, turn red. In this case, it's turning red. That's powerful logic that allows you to set up conditional formatting on the values that you're including in your charts to better understand those values at a glance. Now, beyond just the layout grid, which offers a lot of aesthetic customization, our table components and our user input controls are very powerful tools for navigating through large sets of data. So here I have a table that includes details about player names, their number, their position, a quick headshot about them, and then a link out to a stat sheet from ESPN. So our table component allows for the support of hyperlinks and images, which we get directly from data across various APIs, and you can connect data to tools like spreadsheets and databases. So wherever your data is coming from, we can parse it here in this table component. We've included data for, like I said, player name, numbers, positions, image, and then we have that stat sheet. And we have two filters set up that allow us to further filter this data, a team filter and a position filter, where we can look at all positions or dive deep into a specific position group. How we're able to do this is with a feature that we call hidden data elements. So in addition to including things like the player names and their numbers and their positions, we have hidden filters that aren't visible to the user, but are part of this table's core structure that allow us to filter on things like player status. So here I've included data from two sources in an array, one for the Chiefs and one for the Eagles, that gives us details about those players and their status. We have this filtered so that only active players are returned in this data. So if I click the three dots beside this element and hit edit filter, we can see that the values are active, day-to-day, and practice squad. We're only interested in the players who have active status. Another way to use hidden data elements is with user input controls, like you see for the team and the positions filter. In this case, we don't want a column that shows the team. It's relatively obvious by the uniforms that they're wearing and the label we've selected up here. So we have a hidden data element that's essentially a column of all of the teams that these players play for. And if I evaluate this formula, you can see that we've got a number of entries for the Chiefs and then a number of entries for the Eagles. I've set up a filter, just like the last hidden data element, that matches to an NFL team variable, which is what I've selected in this user input control. So essentially, we're able to tie drop-downs into tables and dynamically update them. And similarly, we're doing the same thing with position, but because position is a column we're actually interested in displaying, we have that set up on the column that is visible. So essentially, that's how you can use some of the visualizations like the gauge, the layout grid component, and our table to make dynamic, engaging, and useful dashboards for whatever your case may be, whether it be a big game, key revenue projection, a meeting you're about to have to display metrics with shareholders. The options are relatively endless for what you can do with Clips. But I'm hoping that you can use Clips and this dashboard, which is public, and we'll share a link, to enhance your game day experience and really make the most out of the big game. Thanks so much, and happy dashboarding.